The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the advertisers, owners, or management of Pacific Telestations, LLC. For comments, opinions, and questions, please email Jess Lujan at jessthebuzz@gmail.com. The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. Tonight, my in-studio guest is the Chief of the Fire Department, Chief Jess Nicolas. Good evening, Chief. How you doing, man?
Good evening. Thank you. I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, thank you. Last week, you were in here with Mana. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and sit with me and talk about the Guam Fire Department. I hope I didn't say police department.
No, you
fire
said
department. Fire department.
Yeah.
Okay. Fire department, because actually, you know, when the administration first started, man, you guys had some great challenges, not only in personnel but equipment. You guys were in a respirator there.
Yes, yes, and you know, and again, Jess, thank you for having me here tonight, and excuse my excitement because I do get excited when I talk about the great things that the fire service is doing here on Guam. You're right. When I first came in, the governor recognized right away that there was a serious issue facing the fire service on Guam, and for that matter, the people. We were down to 1 to 2 ambulances. I mean, there was a time when we even got down to 0 ambulances.
Wow.
For an hour or two. We had about 5 real working trucks, and not one of them was working at 100%. We had an inspection program, a prevention program that needed some resources. We weren't collecting on our ambulance billing. And we didn't have a hazmat team. You know, the latest threat that's happening in this world is hazardous material incidences. And we didn't have a hazmat response capability. We were dependent solely on the Guam Army National or the Guam National Guard's civil support team, which at any given time can be called out off island. So, you know, our fire service was in kind of a disarray. Morale was not where it should be. And I can say that because I did come from the line, and I understood it. It was actually one of the reasons, or the primary reason why I stood up. I was one of those voices that was always speaking out and begging for good leadership, begging for the resources. And, you know, the good Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio, pretty much, you know, and being the man that he is, he put me up to the challenge. He said, hey, you know, Fire Lieutenant Jess Nicolas, you know, are you willing to step up to the challenge and give me these solutions that you've identified as, you know, to address these problems? And so, you know, here and there, I mean, it just happened in a heartbeat. Next thing you know, I became the fire chief. And this is after 4 different fire chiefs were appointed and otherwise not confirmed.
Now, Chief, let me ask you this, because again, you know, most people know this, but again, you guys are more involved than just fighting fires out there.
Yes.
I mean, you know, but let me ask you this point, because you know, as technology changes, as building codes changes, heights of buildings, you know, being built and things like that, man. I mean, you got to be a ready agency. You got to be ready to grow with the times as well.
Yes.
I mean, and I remember at one point, I think you guys are catching up. You're still a little bit behind, but you guys, I remember when technology and buildings were surpassing the fire department in regards to their heights and training and things of that nature. And you guys have to be constantly be with the times, as they say.
You're absolutely correct. And you know, with the changes in technology, everything from the type of wires that are used for electricity to the light bulbs, so on and so forth, all of these things change. And when the international or when the building code changes, the fire code changes.
And you can't just Google it. How do I change?
Correct. And it requires a lot of training, a lot of updating, and a lot of regurgitating and understanding, because we do apply it. You know, the fire service it's one of the public safety agencies that touches everybody every day. You know, you're affected. You send your kids to a school knowing that you're in a safe environment, hopefully, that has a fire alarm system that's working, fire suppression system working, an evacuation plan that's implemented. Because when something does happen, you know, God forbid the worst happens. You know that at least the right steps are being taken to keep your family safe. And the same goes with hotels, and mom and pop stores, and so on and so forth. And so by what I've done in my time as a fire chief over the past 3-4 years recently was I implemented accredited training, what we often refer to as pro board training. And I've put my firefighters and inspectors and EMTs through nationally accredited training in everything that we do. Specifically to your statement, fire prevention, my prevention bureau, code enforcement, that's really 90%, honestly, of what we do as far as fighting fires. We want to prevent the fire, prevent the incident, prevent the hazard, prevent the emergency before it even happens. We play that role as well. It's not just responding, but we also prevent, and that is the biggest piece, you know. And before I came in, we had a very small contingent of inspectors and plan reviewers. Now we have, you know, slightly bigger, but they are trained and they are efficient. And they don't spend as much time anymore because they're not having to research or learn things all over again. They're trained and they're constantly updated. Even something down trained in customer service. You know, I couldn't believe that only recently, or you know, only under my time as a fire chief, that my people never had customer service training, which is interesting to me because that's what we do. Every day is we deal with the customers, you know, and the customers are the people of Guam. And so just by doing simple things like that, just by adopting what successful departments stateside are doing and following these benchmarks, we've been able to increase the satisfaction rate of our department. And, you know, not to say that we don't have complaints, you know, I do entertain, you know, maybe 10 to 15 complaints a year. That is like 0.000037 of the overall 4,000 inspections that we do a year. And so that says a lot, because before, all you ever heard about was complaints. That was like my first year as a fire chief. I had to really, you know, my forte was emergency medical services. I was an EMT intermediate on the advanced life support unit. That was kind of my forte. I was also a hazmat specialist. But code enforcement wasn't quite something that I was really spun up on. And so, you know, I brought in my subject matter expert, who today is my fire marshal, designated fire marshal, Assistant Fire Chief Joey Manabusin. And I had him basically give me a crash course on what I need to know. Because majority of the issues I dealt with at that time was all about code enforcement. You know, why is one inspector saying this and another inspector saying that? Why is, you know, there's a lot of inconsistencies. Well, now, you know, there's consistency. And there's efficiency. You know, why do I got to wait 5 months for an inspection? Now it can happen within, you know, a month or two. Because we're moving a lot quicker. Because, you know, the guys know what they need to do. We have put in systems in place to make things a lot more efficient.
And likewise, you know, last week Mana had joined us here in regards to what they do. Okay, because what they do, of course, is incumbent again on how fast you guys can get things done when these folks are here wanting to again establish themselves out here. Hey, they can't be held up by, you know, not enough people to come here and do this. So again, what they do is incumbent on how fast you get it done, and that you're well equipped to get it done.
And you know, we have to understand the criticality, because you know, when businesses, and I'm sure they're probably watching some business owners, you know, fire inspections is the most dreaded, I think, you know, and I might be biased, but it's the most dreaded because we take it so seriously. We're very passionate about it, because if we make a mistake, literally somebody could die, and that's the way we look at it. So it could be my kid.
And maybe that's why we're not experiencing it right now, because of the intense scrutiny that the business goes through.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at these mass evacuations that we've had in the past with bomb threats and so forth, imagine evacuating an entire hotel. Outrigger and Weston, who are great, you know, they're always compliant. They're always willing to be compliant. These hotels have evacuated their entire hotel without injury. And that's great, and that's because we're doing the right things. We're making sure that we have enough adequate space and passage and egress, and signs are saying the right things and moving things in the right direction. And so, you know, that's the impact that we play. And you know what? We didn't have to respond to an injury. That's right. Lives were saved just by simple evacuation. And so, you know, that's the type of impact that we have, and you know, that translates to GITA when they do their, you know, their pitch off island. They're saying, hey, you know, we have a great program on Guam. Our regulatory agencies are on board. They want your business, they welcome it, and they want the work, and they want to keep you safe so that you're not facing lawsuits.
That's right.
You can have a long-term business here on Guam without fear of lawsuits, because we're going to make sure you're set up right from the beginning. Yeah. So
I got to take a quick break. We'll talk more about this when we come back. Take you right back.